Right, I hope this is going. What's poppin'? Today we're gonna go over UC Santa Cruz advice because there's so many people posting on YouTube about advice for their respective colleges. So I want to be the first one to drop my advice in before other people join in on the bandwagon. So we're gonna quickly go over three things. First thing is academics, and then we're gonna jump to extracurriculars, and then we're going to jump into research. Go over those three things real quickly, and maybe I'll do another video later on other topics that might be interesting. Anyways, first thing is academics. Things I wish I knew when I was a freshman was creating academic plans. You see, let me just pull it up here. Academic plan 2. This is my academic plan, which I highly recommend a lot of first years to do, mainly because it keeps you accountable for all the classes you're going to take and just overall alleviates stress when you know what you're going to take the following quarter. So here's mine. Here are all the classes I took. Fall 2017, winter 2018, spring 2018. Shows you all those classes and also my sophomore year too. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Keep an academic plan. It'll be a lifesaver. You can make one on Google Drive, make one on Microsoft Word, whatever platform, up to you. Just keep an academic plan. And to add on to the academic plan, the next thing I wanted to go over is slug survival. Not many first years know this. I didn't know it until I was maybe in my second quarter of freshman year, so winter quarter. This is a really handy website for you to plan out your schedule and know what classes are offered. Because one thing you should all know is that my.ucsc.edu for picking classes is super laggy and it's just horribly designed. Here's a much better way to get a better overview of your classes. So if it loads for me, maybe it's not going to load. Okay, so here's a general layout of what it kind of looks like. This is fall 2019. So let's say I'm a freshman and I'm taking like Chem 1A. Then you can just type in Chem 1A and then pick your Chem 1A class. Looks like Oliver's teaching it. Cool. And you can just add to it and it gets you a better layout of what classes what your weekly schedule kind of looks like. And you can also look at all the discussion sections offered. And the good thing about this website is that it links directly to my.ucsc.edu, the academic scheduler by some, I don't know, computer science magic or whatever. But basically, it works really well. You can pick all the classes you want, and it gets you a better bird's eye view of all the classes that are offered for a particular quarter. So highly recommend that. And the last thing to go over for academic scheduling is curriculum 2019-2020 plans. So if you go on Google, type in curriculum plan for MCD Bio or for chemistry or for physics or for biochem, you'll come up with something that looks like this. And it's basically a spreadsheet which tells you, which tells you all the different classes that are offered for each quarter of this coming academic school year and all the teachers or professors that are going to teach the class. Yeah, don't say teachers in college. Always say professors. Don't do what I did. So, for example, like in 20A, Tamkin's teaching it, which it's a nice class. Winter, Lee's teaching it, and spring, Jarika's teaching it. So that'll give you a better idea for you to look for professors you want to take in a particular class, and maybe it will help you with planning your schedule and whatnot. So those are three things I really wish I knew as a freshman. And the next thing I want to go over is units. This is something I didn't know till like winter quarter also. 15 units is the standard amount of units a lot of people take in UCSC. 15 units qualifies for Dean List, for example, and 15 units, I think, Dean List, and there's really not much else to it. Yeah, it's standard full-time qualifies you for Dean List. That's pretty much all that comes with 15 units. 12 units is still full-time, but you don't qualify for Dean List as far as I'm aware. So if you take 12 units, you're still qualified for financial aid, which is nice. And lastly, you're taking above 15 units, like 17, 19, 21, 22, or whatever. Honestly, it's kind of up to you to decide if you want to take like 15 units and above, mainly because I personally can't give you advice whether or not to take above 15 units, since you know yourself best, right? Typically, a workload for 15 units for me, when I took Chem 1A, Math 11A, and my core course, I was putting in maybe about 20 hours a week or something into those courses. So plan accordingly and just, make a good schedule and just know yourself. That's all I can say about taking above 15 units at UCSC. All right, so last thing I wanted to go over, not last thing, I guess last thing for this section is what to do if you're failing Chem 1A or Math 11A. Well, there is a crap ton of resources for you to look at. MSI, ACE, LSS, private tutors, and YouTube, online, internet, other academic websites, and Khan Academy. Okay, let's go over these things. MSI is, I think, modified student instruction, which all it is just there is a particular student who did really well in that particular course, typically a B or higher, and they host sections throughout the week. It's typically one section a day, 5 times a week, and any student can just walk into those sections and get any tutoring or get any questions answered from the student tutor. And sometimes they give you lectures and they give you extra problems to do. Just really they give you basically extra work to do in your classes and try to help you succeed in that particular course. ACE, I think of it as kind of like after school tutoring, which is like a stricter version of MSI in that you have to show up all the time to your ACE sections, I think. And they're typically larger and you have to apply to be in the ACE program, I think. I'm not really too familiar with ACE, but that's also another option. LSS, Stan, what's LSS stand for? Stan.
Learning Support Services.
Learning Support Services. There we go. LSS basically is also like a stricter version of MSI in that you also have to go to sections that are required. I think, is that right? You have to go to sections that are they required to go to all the sections?
No.
No? Okay, never mind. Well, I guess you don't have to go to all the sections. Then I'm pretty sure it's just like a smaller learning environment for people. And yeah, that's all I pretty much have to say for it. Private tutors, you can find them on Reddit, Facebook. Sometimes you can find flyers around like Query if you look hard enough. Maybe not hard enough. It's probably like scattered everywhere. And just ask around. Lastly, this is what I use personally: Khan Academy, YouTube, and other academic websites. This is free stuff, and you should totally take advantage of it. Because if you're not, you're just wasting free resources. In Chem 1A specifically, I use Khan Academy. SalKhan, honestly, is the most OP and overpowered, beastly, what have you, online tutor in the entire world. If you're not using SalKhan for your pre-med, science, STEM courses, you're really digging yourself a big hole because he just helps you. And it's free, and he's really good at it. So highly recommend Khan Academy. Other academic websites, sometimes you can find courses that are similar to the courses you're taking. From other universities. For example, Chem 1A, when I took it, I usually go over to like this random chemistry general chem website from like Boise State University or something. They have some more resources, some more practice problems for you to do, which will get you a better grade. So that's a couple of things to talk about for succeeding in your courses. All right, so I thought I'd put this in here mainly because some people have questions about which academic plan I should use. There's one posted on the MCD advising website. I didn't look at that yet, but I just made this one up just like a couple minutes ago. Basically, what you're doing is that you're going to take Chem 1A, Core, and Math 11A your freshman year. This is the gold standard of what a lot of freshmen take their first year. It's 15 units. It's not too bad. Chem 1A isn't too bad. Core class, actually, Core might be a little bit. It's really dependent on your professor and which core class you're taking in your college. So that depends. Math 11A. It's alright, but basically this is a gold standard and it should serve you a nice introduction to life in a public research university. And then in winter quarter, you're going to take Chem 1B with its respective lab, which is Chem 1M, and those together are 7 units. And a GE to get GEs out of the way, and Math 11B, which is the next math in the series. And that's 17 units, which is a little bit more than 15 units because of the lab. Really up to you. If you think you can do above 15 units, like if you breeze through your fall quarter schedule and you think you can do above 15 units, then I say go for it. Do Chem 1B, Lab, GE, Math 11B, what have you. So that's that. And then in spring quarter, take Chem 1C with the lab, 1 Ed, which is also 7 units together. Bio 20A, which is the first bio you're probably going to take in your freshman year, and your GE, and that's also 17 units. I also have another schedule for people that like to succeed and like to really go ham on graduating in 3 years. I call this the accelerated academic plan. And here's what's composed up of. So you have Chem 1A, Core, and Math 11A, which again is the gold standard of a lot of freshman courses. Then you have Chem 1B in your winter quarter with the lab, Bio 28, Math 11B. This is 3 STEM courses, which a lot of people will tell you not to do. And honestly, it's really dependent on you whether or not you can take more than 2 STEM courses. Because for this quarter, personally, this is something I took. The workload was about 25 to 30 hours per week, which is a little bit more than fall quarter. I'd say this quarter was probably the hardest quarter I've taken in my freshman year. So there's that to think about. 20A, I think, teaches about chromatin. It serves as a primer for molecular biology, genetics, and biochemistry. So, like cell function, mitosis, meiosis, a little bit of genetics, and there's one more, DNA, RNA replication. So, yeah, it's like your basic AP bio if you're familiar with that. That's pretty much all I have to say for 20A. And then spring Chem 1C with lab, Bio 20B, Bio 20L, and Physics 6A if you're really up for it. This might also be hard. The benefit of Physics 6A is that I think most of the time in spring it's offered online, and that saves you some time when it comes to like scheduling your courses and having to go to places around campus. So this schedule, I didn't take Physics 6A. Actually, I took a different class. I took another GE, so I can't really comment much on this schedule for spring quarter. But again, it's up to you. But overall, I can guarantee you that if you follow this schedule, you can probably graduate in 3 years, no problem. Assuming you take like the normal 2 STEM courses in your sophomore and junior year. Maybe I'll make a video on it like next week or something about graduating in 3 years. But yeah, you stick to this, you can probably graduate in 3 years without having to do summer courses. So that's always nice. And then finally, I don't have much to say about this. This is extracurriculars. If you're watching this like in the weekend, maybe when it comes out, September 24th is cornucopia. Starts from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And basically, my only advice for you is that just join as many clubs as you can. The benefits at UCSC is that you can join a club and then you can leave anytime you want. No one's going to ask you questions. No one's going to ask why. A couple of clubs I recommend is Bioinformatics Club if you're into like bioinformatics and learning about like how computer science intersects with biology. Women in STEM is also pretty cool. SACE, which is I think Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers, if you're into that. Morning Sign Out is just about reading scientific literature and trying to dumb it down into more population-friendly language. And if you're interested in volunteering, there's like Rotaract and Red Cross. But yeah, go to Cornucopia. Sign up to as many clubs as you want. The only thing, there's no downside to it basically. The only thing is that you're going to get a crap ton of emails if you don't like unsubscribe from their email list. So yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, the third and final thing is research. So many people want to do research when they come to UC Santa Cruz, especially knowing that they go to a big public research university. And the only thing I have to say about research is that if you look for research hard enough, you will get research. People that say that they don't get research, there's a good chance that they're not trying hard enough, because there is so many, I wouldn't say there's so many opportunities, but if you keep trying to connect with professors and send out as many emails as possible, there's a good chance at least one professor is going to email you back and say, hey, come in for an interview and come in to chit chat about potentially working for my lab, whatever. Okay. But before we get into those, 3 things we're going to go over in research: office hours, cold emailing, which is a tactic used to get into research, and connections. Those 3 things are the big things. Okay, first thing, office hours. This doesn't really apply to large public universities like UC Santa Cruz or any UC in California, mainly because our class lectures are really big, and it's kind of hard to really connect with professors one-on-one. So that's why you have to go to office hours. And even if you do go to office hours, there's some professors in chemistry that don't really have research labs. They're just lecturers. So if you're trying to go to their office hour just to squeeze into your lab, then maybe you shouldn't, because some of these lecturers actually don't have research labs, but some do. I know Peter Weiss has a research lab, and he's the lecturer for Chem 1C. So if you're into that, hit up his office hours and question about his research. Lastly, Bio 20A A lot of the professors that teach Bio 20A do have research labs. Tamkun has one. Oh, actually, Rexac. Does Rexac have a research lab?
No.
No, okay. Yeah, Rexac also teaches Bio 20A. He doesn't have a research lab. So there's that. And Tamkun, Rexac, and Jarika's also teaching Bio 20A this year. I think she's teaching in spring. I think she has a research lab. So there's that. Okay, this one's the best. Email is the best way to get research in a large public research university such as UC Santa Cruz. And the reason why is once again because we go to a big school with like 300 people, sometimes even 480 people in your chemistry classes. And there's absolutely no way you can get those direct connections with professors. And that's why email is the most efficient way to get research at a large public university. And here's how to do it. Okay, the first step is to figure out what research lab you want to get into. And I think there's a couple ways you can do that. The first one is to Google research labs in UC Santa Cruz, basically. And you should come across something like this if you're interested in biology research. It's a website with all the labs that are available in UC Santa Cruz. And you can scroll through them, look at a couple of labs you're interested in, like if you're interested in prostate cancer development, tissue stem cells, whatever, click on it and read the research and see if it's something that interests you. It's important to pick a lab that interests you because you don't want to join a lab that you really, really, really hate. It's like not cool. Don't go into a lab just like checkboxing for like grad school or whatever. Actually do join a lab that you're interested in because chances are you're going to put in so much time, effort into your projects and research that you just really want it to pay off at the end, and you really want to be doing something you actually are passionately interested in. So yeah, here is a professor's research page, and most of them have a lab homepage, so you can click on it, read a little bit more about research. I highly recommend you read their publications, try to make sense of it. There's a good chance you probably don't understand it the first time around. That's okay, we're all undergrads. Half the time we don't understand the research. That's all right. So if you usually look at like their contact us page, there's a good chance they have a couple instructions for undergrads looking to apply to follow. Here, let's see. Yep, undergraduate research. This lab has 2 to 3 at the time, and they join the lab second or third year. Sorry, freshmen. And you just email this professor with your transcript and personal statement of research. So not too much. But in the off chance that a professor doesn't have a specific template you're supposed to use when applying, here's my template. So I break my email into 3 big sections or paragraphs. The first paragraph is talking about yourself. The second paragraph is talking about why you want to get into their lab. This is absolutely huge because professors get like 50 emails every quarter from students wanting to go into research. And about 95% of those emails are just copy and paste templates they found online. And sometimes they're even just like, hey, dear professor, can I join your lab? Here's my contact info, blah, blah, blah. Said. You don't want to do that. Actually spend at least like 2 to 3 days drafting out your email, reading the research, trying to make sense of it, and really try to express your passion in that specific research lab through your second paragraph. Really show the professor that you're really interested in the research they do and whatever you're studying. Third paragraph, then talk about your schedule. Yeah, that's a big thing in lab. Just make sure like you can fit in doing research. Typically, research lab require 10 to 15 hours per week of like doing wet lab work. So see if you can fit in your schedule, and definitely send your professors your schedule for the quarter. Is there anything else I want to say about research? I'm pretty sure. No, I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, email is the number one way. Always use email. This next one is kind of connections. Some organizations, I guess, yeah, some organizations, they have upperclassmen in them, and sometimes if you get to know those upperclassmen, like the fourth years, you can ask them like, hey, can I join your research lab? Can you hit me up with that recommendation? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll actually get into the lab. So basically all that to say, when you join your first year and you join any club or organization, try to make friends with fourth years, because those fourth years are going to be leaving lab in spring, and when they leave lab, it leaves space for you to get into that lab. And nothing comes better than having a recommendation on you on their behalf of you coming from them. So highly recommend getting connections. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Yeah, hope you do good freshman year. Sayonara. Oh, and this is a microphone, by the way.